Bitcoin is still in a very tight range. And that is actually creating some level of rejections in these altcoins. Especially when you look at XRP, we actually thought we may actually see a little bit of momentum here if we break higher. However, what's happening right now is that the price is getting rejected at this level of resistance. So the primary support here, the short-term one, is going to be 0.45 level. But the way the market is reacting is like it's volatile. You are getting mixed information on the short-term segment. But obviously, as you actually zoom out, you do get some more clarity. You do see that we are making a pattern here. But yes, if Ether breaks below 1900, that means it may create some more volatility, because then the recent break higher will get invalidated. We really don't want that to happen, because on a conservative approach, if you actually put in a line chart, we manage to actually break higher. But then you actually go on looking at the volatility in the market and you see like we are still below that. If we get rejected, the base for Ether can be at this range of 1800, 1830 towards 1840. Now that's not a huge movement in the market, but still, considering a lot of altcoins are moving right now in the market, you do have assets running higher. And that's clearly visible with the market cap, meaning it's still at $1.24 trillion, even though a lot of these assets are on the downside today. So money is moving within the market. We started watching this happening in the market from Jan, right? And that's exactly what's happening in the market right now. We do see a lot of these assets trying to move higher. And as soon as you see some level of confidence coming into the market from the Bitcoin dominant side of things, which is a break to the downside, here, if we actually manage to see Bitcoin dominance breaking lower, giving us the confirmation that it is going to continue to the downside, that's going to be perfect. Meaning Bitcoin price is holding stable, Bitcoin dominance is dropping, which means more and more money is going to come into the altcoin side of things. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, if you actually look at a lot of these assets which are moving higher, you do see that they are trending higher. They make higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and they're trying to push that same trend into the long-term moves. Even on the long-term leg, you're watching these assets are breaking higher. Now, there are a lot of these assets, but what matters is the volume as well. If you are in the medium to large cap assets, that's kind of a little bit safe when you get these break higher, because they are involved with a lot of volume. And that kind of gives you more certainty that, okay, that is going to give you the ability to take profits. Now, if you actually look at XRP on a short-term zoomed-in view, the level of volatility we are observing here in XRP is not too much comparing, all those other assets. Yes, it does look like that we are getting some volume, but the fact here is like we are still congested in this particular range. So what we really would like to see is a bounce off and an invalidation of these two candles. So we can actually say like, okay, on a daily, we had a corrective signal and right now the ABC is completed. But however, while we are still here without bouncing higher, we may still continue lower and put that C leg to the downside. Now, majority of the aspects based on the candlestick pattern, we can actually see like we're getting volatility here for sure. And if you actually look forward to, most likely we're going to come back down again to test 0.45. And if the market is being pushed lower with a drop in Ether, that actually will say like the market is about to drop further and Ether is pushing the altcoins to the downside. Now, to get a better perspective, you can actually just use a line chart and look at Ether, and it will show you a lower high, lower low perspective being built there on the short-term chart. So we really would like to see this going back up. Because if this actually breaks lower, zoom in, you'll actually see like, okay, we are making a short-term pattern here, which would look something like this. So if we break lower, that wouldn't be a good thing to watch, because then we would come back to test these previous price points. So if you actually look at the first area of support, it's somewhat close to where we are right now. We can call it the moving average on a 4-hour chart. This is the first level. If we manage to reach that level and get some sort of support at 1895, that is going to give some breathing space for the market. See, we saw some of these assets trying to push higher on the short term. We even saw like, they are moving at one point with some momentum. But right now we are watching them getting rejected because Bitcoin is so slow and it's making some volatile move on the short term. It's choppy for sure, but it's not actually creating much of a trend right now on the short term scenario. What matters for us in the investment community is that we understand the patterns, the long-term viewpoint. See, in the last month's digest, we actually shared this thought process, the XLM. It's about to bounce higher. This is going to be the first level. This is going to be the second level. And right now, if you actually go look at XLM, we hit that level 1. We bounced off. Then we're going towards the next level. So that's just, one asset of it. Then you have actually, if you actually look at XRP itself, we actually shared this narrative. We're going to come back higher. That's going to be the level of resistance which we are going to test. What happens? You go up, you test that range, and you're coming back down. Now, that's just 2 assets in the market, and you have a lot of these other assets, say BNB, we told it's going to drop. Then you actually saw that dropping. Then this was like Render, it was moving higher, and a lot of people were like, okay, it's going to continue higher. And I'm like, okay, we may come down first and then go back higher. I agree it's going to go back higher, but first it will come back down. That was my thought process, and here it goes. We already dropped. Now we're waiting for a confirmation of a break to the upside and a giant move to the upside. Most likely that's going to come in. For sure, it's going to come in. And this is the same for a lot of these different assets which you are watching riding the market right now. Say Injective, if you actually look at Injective, you'll actually see our call like, okay, watch for this pattern. If this breaks higher, you have an opportunity. And that broke higher and it continued forward. Now, we do take that opportunity. We made a short-term leverage trade there and took our profits there. Now, if you look for positives, you do see that, and if you look for negatives, that also exists in the market. Just like BNB, we actually put this narrative out for Solana saying, okay, I don't actually think there is a lot of bullishness here, and the level of bearishness here is clear. And then what happens? The price drops another 43% since that call. So if things are like, okay, I'm not that fast trader, I'm not going in and out like in seconds. If you have time and you want clarity for these assets, I would suggest like, okay, look at the Patreon. The link is in the description below, where you actually get all of these updates, where you are able to understand how things evolve one by one with all of these assets in the market showing you opportunity. This may really give you an edge in the market. Now, jumping back into the price action side of things, first thing I would like to actually take you guys towards is the altcoin market cap side of things, right? The entire altcoin cap, where you even include Ether, and you're looking at this. We have been chopping around inside this range of accumulation for like a year. The only positive thing we got recently is this break to the upside, which is actually a positive thing to watch. And then if you actually happen to zoom out on a weekly chart for this, you can actually see like the narrative is changing quickly. We actually made a double bottom structure here in terms of price. However, we actually saw a divergence evolving in the RSI, which is still trending higher. So if it's me, I would say, okay, something is happening. Someone is accumulating at this point. And once we break to the upside, that opportunity to buy in the accumulation zone is gone. Because we have actually seen this before. The price actually does all these volatile movements inside an accumulation zone. You break higher, then you do a short level of reaccumulation, starts moving higher. So if that's about to happen here, one of the shortest route would be to buy as much as possible, but dividing that into maybe 30-40 days. where you actually get to buy through the volatility, averaging up and down, and you still manage to get a decent cost basis inside this accumulation zone. Because if you are not able to time the market perfectly, which is super hard, it may not be the best thing to do to buy at current level, right? Now, if you actually look at this, we are watching a breakout. If we get a retest and a bounce, now that is going to be a good range for you to consider if you are trying to double down inside this market. But again, that's not going to be the case for all the altcoins, right? This is the general market cap for the entire altcoin market, where we all understand like there are a group of these assets which are now starting to run higher, whereas on the other side, these assets are having hardships. Some of these are just corrections, because look at them on the weekly. You'll actually understand what I'm conveying. Some of them are just a correction before the next leg up, but not a lot of others. Like they are down like 20% for the week, while you actually watch others are up 10, 15, 20% for the day, right? So the market is actually draining capital from one side and allocating them into the other side of things. So if you actually have better clarity of what these assets are doing, now that becomes your advantage. Inside this market, 90% you find it really hard to make money over 3 to 5 year span. So if you have the information and you can be on the 10% side, that's what actually matters, because fundamentals are the same. You see how things are evolving, and it's evolving at the same speed as we've been talking for some time. And here, as Ripple highlights, while cross-border payments are traditionally costly and slow, Ripple now highlight the point that they help to solve these challenges. Now we know that they can do this. The difference is now it's coming in Financial Times. Now it's getting more media attention. Now it's getting more widespread analysis, where people would be like, okay, let's see how things are evolving. Let's see how their system solves the existing problems. And that's where you get more money flow in. Now, there's another one highlighting the fact that, Temenos T24 is actually integrating Ripple, and that's like, 7 years back. And now you understand, yeah, all those happened back then for a reason. Say, the tweet from Mikey actually highlights this, like the way you actually see the fundamentals, the adoption, especially with the central bank side of things, it's now getting stronger and stronger. And that's one of the only reason why Ripple, the company, and XRP Ledger as a ledger with XRP as an asset is having massive advantage over the market. Now, there are only few assets or structures, infrastructures in the market who actually come close. Say Quant, they have massive adoption. They have massive working relationship with a lot of central banks. They're doing it. Then comes XLM, then comes HBAR. You actually see that. Now, yes, Ether is there, but it's really hard to even consider that as an asset, because it's just some politics, basically, without much of a use case. Now, then you actually come to see this here. Back in the days, Charles used to highlight the point like XRP community is just some grand conspiracy theorist. And listen to this guy. Now, he is coming into what we were saying. So you also understand the fact that, okay, things did happen. Back then, maybe he was just trying to covering his ass so that the SEC is not going to go against Cardano. But right now, that's not the case. They got just hammered by SEC, just like XRP. But the big difference is we actually went through that 2 year of fight. Now we are almost at the end of this court case, whereas all these others are just starting. So you are watching how things are actually evolving, right? And while we watch how things are evolving, the biggest factor here is to understand where we came from. One of the most important things is to understand, yes, we got a euphoric rally to the upside, then we dropped massively, where a lot of people moved out from the market. Now, those who are in the market right now are one of the strongest in the market, because you went through this phase of corrective legs in the market. And not only is the price-based correction happening, but also the time-based correction. So anyone who was like, I don't care about the price today, I'm waiting for the future, was kind of squeezed in terms of time. It's been like 400 days while we are chopping inside this range. But during that range, what happens is the big guys, the whales, the institutions, they start accumulating. They are preparing for the next big run up. So even if we are dollar cost averaging a little by little, we are still making our portfolio bigger in terms of units. And in dollar terms, that's going to get reflected as soon as the market starts the markup phase and move higher. And from now, it's not that far, because the way you should be looking at the market is like the bottom for XRP was somewhere close to 0.27, right? In different exchanges, it would be different a little bit here and there, but you get the point. Now we're close to 0.47. So we actually did a 100% move to the upside. We did test this range of previous level of resistance. Now we are trying to break through that range. One of the smallest thing which we should be looking at here is like we actually followed this trend line for quite some time, and we are at that point right now. So if the price action is able to bounce from this point, it's positive. And the factors which actually side with that positive note is that the moving average is still below the price, or it is acting as a support, meaning people usually consider buying at the moving average, especially on the higher time frames like the weekly and daily, as undervalued or great opportunity for a short-term trade, because the price usually bounces off like this, and that gives you a decent level of profit. Say anyone who actually bought during this time made around 30% run up. Now in crypto, 30% is not a big deal for sure, but if you actually look at the traditional banking sector, they are offering you 0%, 0.5%, now maybe 4% a year. Here this move comes in like a month, so that's decent in that thought process. Now you go back looking at Bitcoin and you're actually confused. Basically, all of us are looking at Bitcoin and asking like, yeah, we actually got a monthly candle which actually closed now. And that monthly candle highlights the fact that, yeah, I don't care about what others say, I'm bullish. I mean, that's what I'm actually watching here in the price action, because the monthly candle just shows you that I made an engulfing candle here, and that engulfing candle shows you, Baba, I'm going higher whether you want it or not. Now, we have a lot of similarity with what we have seen in the past, because we do get an engulfing candle after this choppy month, and the monthly close shows you above the moving average. So we talked about the higher time frames, right? Whenever the moving average, 21-day moving average, is being broken to the upside, that is considered as a massively bullish signal. And here we are watching that in front of us. So in next 3 months, in next 6 months, within the end of this year, when you actually watch Bitcoin somewhere close to the all-time highs or in the new highs, don't be surprised. But do I think this is going to be like next 3-4 years of a bull market? The chances for that really look slim for me. Maybe once we start the run off, we may have a year of run, but it will completely depend on the momentum of the run up. If we are running so fast, then most likely we're going to hit a wall soon. But if the run up is going to be slow, choppy, with 30-40% correction every now and then after running up, now you may have a year and a half to the upside. Because always remember, when you actually go back looking at the entire crypto market, which will be a little bit biased because of the Bitcoin side of things, but you understand this factor. We've been moving up, the trend line is to the upside. We're close to the trend line, we're trying to bounce off, and that's where majority of the opportunity lies in. The only difference is not all coins are an opportunity. Not every coin will survive this market. With major drops, we have actually seen a lot of assets breaking through the bear market bottom, breaking through the key levels. Some of these assets are right now here. Imagine that when the total crypto market from 2020, when you're considering this range, reached a new high here and is making a bullish note here, we have a lot of assets which are here. Some of them are opportunity. Some of them are like a red flag. But you do have to understand both the fundamentals and the technicals to see why that happened, right? And is money coming back into that market? If there is no attention in that market, no new money is coming into that, and the price action is so weak, it's going to be a red flag for you. And if you're actually looking at things like that, that's when, where we discuss these points, those becomes more valid. That's when you look for like 3 months, next couple of months, all these perspective becomes valid, because when you actually see these coins starting to move higher, don't just FOMO in, because yeah, on a short-term chart, it will actually look like we are popping through the sky, but understand the fact that on a macro, this is what it is. We're just starting that run up. Yes, when you zoom in, you do see giant candles popping up with a lot of volume, but as soon as you start moving out, now you start to understand like that level of volume is actually great, but when the price is this low, that does mean huge opportunity is just starting, which means the price action is going to explode in these assets, one of which is what you're watching here. So in next 3 months time, 4 months time, when we come back and revisit this asset, let's actually see where the price action is. Because if it actually runs higher, even to test the all-time highs, that's like massive ROI, which we are talking about. So if you're actually looking at those kind of stuff, learn on a regular basis. Go through all these assets one by one and check all of those on the macro and the micro. That'll help you to actually gain more knowledge in the price action side of things and position yourself well enough so that before this pops, you're already there. And just with the first level of pop, you're fine. Or else you're waiting for a retest, and as soon as the retest gives you a confirmation of a reversal, you're in, right? That helps you stand out from the market. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're looking for these kind of updates on a regular basis, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.